What's good, gang? Today's episode is dedicated to anybody who is going through a back and forth right now. When I say a back and forth, I mean any sort of back and forth, like a back and forth with an addictive behavior, a back and forth with an impulsive behavior, back and forth in a relationship with somebody that you probably shouldn't be dealing with, back and forth with yo-yo dieting, back and forth with your spending habits, back and forth with procrastination, just back and forth in general. This is dedicated to anybody who's trying to move forward. I'm telling you right now, your negative cycle ends today, and I'm here to help guide you through that. So listen well, listen up, man. The first things first that I want to do is congratulate you. I want to congratulate you because if you are going back and forth, that means at least you're going forward a little bit to be able to go backwards. You can't go backwards if you ain't forward first. You know what I'm saying? That means you're taking some steps in the right direction. That just means you got to keep on making that momentum push you in the right direction. However, you do need to understand that there's something that's fighting you, and that thing that's fighting you is your old self, this old version of yourself. You have been building this version of yourself for years and years and years. It's a living entity within you. It's a version of you that exists. And you got to understand that the moment that you start trying to change it, it's going to check you because it's trying to live. It wants to survive. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of you. You've built it. You've made it. It exists. So it's going to try to survive. It's going to check you. It's going to be like, whoa, yo, what you doing? What you trying to change this for? Why are you trying to change this? We've been eating this way for 10 years. We've been smoking for 10 years. We've been drinking for 10 years. We've been talking to this person back and forth for 10 years. Why you want to change now? So that's the warning shot. You know what I'm saying? The reason why you're going back and forth is because this version of you wants to continue to exist. It doesn't want to go away. The first thing I want to acknowledge here in order for us to change is to recognize our patterns, to recognize our habits, becoming conscious of the things that we are performing over and over again on a regular basis. A lot of times for us to have these sorts of impulsive behaviors that we're engaging in, there is a cue, craving, and reward system that we go through this ritual over and over again that gets us to continue to do this habit. You know, we receive a cue. Your cue could be you are on social media and you're looking at this person's page that you're not supposed to be looking at, right? Your first cue is getting on the social media and looking at that page. That develops the craving. The craving now goes, man, I really feel like I want to talk to them. I feel like I really want to call them. I want to text them. I want to hit them up. I really want to talk to this person. I want to communicate with this person. That craving becomes stronger and stronger because you received the cue in the first place, which was getting on the social media, which then results in the reward. The reward is you calling this person that you know damn well you ain't supposed to be talking to. You call them, you talk to them anyway, you text them, you hit them up. Now you back in the situationship. Now you got a problem. The cue could be the fact that you're just sitting there bored. You ain't got nothing to do. You sitting around on a Saturday. You ain't got nothing to do. You bored out of your mind. And all of a sudden you get that craving of like, man, I could spark up a blunt right now. I could drink a 40 right now. You know what I'm saying? I could do something right now, some kind of stimulus, some sort of cheap thrill, some sort of dopamine inducing, excitement that I can get myself into. You get that craving, and then after the craving comes the reward. You go on ahead and you spark up that blunt. You go on ahead and you crack open that bottle. It's these cycles that we go into, these rituals, these habitual rituals that we get into, and this ritualistic nature that we devolve into over and over and over again because we just keep on allowing ourselves to indulge in it. But we got to ask ourselves why. Why are we engaging in these habits? Why are we seeking out these rewards? What are we getting out of it? Right? What are we getting out of it? We know for a fact that for some reason, every time that we do these things, we don't feel that great afterwards, but we do them anyway. It's a temporary fix. But why do we keep engaging in it? Why do we keep doing it? We keep doing it 9 times out of 10 because we're trying to engage in escapism. We're trying to escape. For whatever reason in our life, we're trying to escape. We're trying to escape whatever it is. Maybe you're trying to escape your trauma. Maybe you're trying to escape negative feelings that you're harboring. Maybe you're trying to escape based on the fact that you're grieving. Maybe you're trying to escape based on something that happened to you earlier in your life, whatever. So we engage in these habits. We devolve ourselves into engaging in this ritualistic nature in order to try to escape from whatever it is, to alleviate ourselves from the suffering that we're dealing with. Generally speaking, we are trying to escape from a life, from a reality that we are not happy with. And in order for us to not want to engage in these habits, we have to develop, we have to create, we have to envision a life in which we don't want to escape from. And we need to create that life. We need to create that reality. We need to be in a reality that we don't want to get away from. that we don't want to escape from, that we don't want to run away from. We need to create that. We need to develop that. That's the only way you're going to conquer this habit. That's the only way you're going to conquer this thing. Because as long as you're bored, as long as you hate your life, as long as you're hurting inside, as long as you feel these things that you don't want to feel, you're going to want to escape. You're going to want to alleviate the suffering. And you're going to find a cue that will then make some sort of craving occur in your body, and then you're going to try to seek out that reward. Listen, old habits die hard. They die hard because they're old. They've been reinforced. They've been grown, you know? They have been trained. But you can conquer this older version of yourself. You can confront it. You can sit it down and be like, listen, man, I'm retiring this. I'm putting it away. This old version, I can't do this anymore. I got to be somebody else. I got to be a new me. You can confront it. You're not going to get rid of it completely, right? You're not going to make it disappear. It's always going to be a part of you. And that's something I want you to accept. It's always going to be a part of you because you built it. But you can confront it. You can make it sit down. You can develop this newer version of yourself that will now take it on the driver's seat and be in control. Your new life is going to cost you your old one. You're going to have to sacrifice all of this cheap thrills, all that cheap dopamine, all of that instant gratification, all these habits that you are engaging in right now. You got to let them go in order to move forward. They are holding you back. They are anchoring you down. If you want to move forward, if you want to move up, if you want to get seated into that higher self, you're going to have to let some of that stuff go. And that's easier said than done. I'm not saying this ain't a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift, brother. It's a heavy lift, sister, but you can do it. If we start going into a new territory, we're going to become a new self. And that new self is engaging in evolution. And evolution is scary. The next stage of who you are is scary. The future is unknown. And the unknownness of the future is scary. It's terrifying. You see, that older version of yourself fears evolution, and it doesn't want to disappear. It wants to stay a Charmander. It don't want to go into Charmeleon. It don't want to turn into Charizard. It wants to stay a Charmander. But that's just not real. You're going to stunt your own growth. You're going to make yourself feel worse by trying to stay in whatever version of yourself that you currently are. Your effort to remain as you are is what limits you. All things must change in a dynamic environment. That's from Ghost in the Shell. It's a super powerful quote, and it's super true. You know what I'm saying? Like, your effort to remain as you are is what limits you. It's terrifying to not know exactly who you'll develop yourself into. The brain is used to whatever patterns that it's used to. A majority of our actions are inspired by subconscious thoughts. Not the conscious ones, not the ones that we're aware of, but subconscious thoughts. And a lot of subconscious thoughts are influenced by none other than our environments. Our environments play a very large part in the way that we're going to behave. So a lot of times, if you want to change, if you want to stop this negative habit, you're going to have to change your environment. And changing your environment can mean a lot of things. Changing your environment can mean changing the way that your room is set up, the way that your apartment, your house is set up. It could be the route that you take to work. It could be your digital environment, the way that your feed looks, right? Your social media feed. You might have to change that up. You might have to, block a couple people or block a couple pages. You might have to private some things. You might have to set some parameters within your environment that change things. It might be the people that you're hanging out with, the people that you're spending time with. There's some people that you might not be able to spend any time with anymore. It could be anything. There's all these different things that are a part of our environment overall, the world in which we participate in, that you might have to change. In order for you to change, you got to change your world. Any of these things within your environment can cause for you to have a cue, and then you have that craving, and then you seek out a reward. You could have a cue based on your social media feed. You could have a cue based on you driving this same road every time that you pass by that fast food restaurant. That's your main weakness. You might have to stop driving down it. That hanging out with certain people might be the cue to be like, you know what? It's Friday night. Me and my homies, we about to get fucked up. That's what we're going to do. Because that's what these people do. And I'm hanging out with these people. So that's the cue. And it creates the craving, and then I go out and I seek the reward. So no matter what, one way or another, you got to change your environment, because that environment is influencing you on a subconscious level. It's going to make you behave in a certain way. We will find a way to maintain homeostasis. The mind, the body, the soul, it wants to maintain a certain equilibrium, and that equilibrium is maintained at a certain frequency in which we engage in all of our habits, our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, the things that we do on a regular basis. And that achieves a certain frequency that we vibrate at. And that frequency that we vibrate at could be something that we're not actually wanting to be in. It could be something that's uncomfortable. It could be something wrong. It could be bad. But we're used to it. The thing is, oftentimes when we try to get rid of something in our life that we don't need in our life, we create a vacuum. And look, I'm gonna speak about this again in another video at some point, but you can't leave a vacuum in your life. If there's a space in your life that you've been filling with something, you can't leave that space open. You're going to fill it with something. And 9 times out of 10, if you don't refill it with something else, you're going to refill it with what you've been filling it with. So you got to take this open space that you're opening up if you're trying to get rid of this negative habit or this negative thing, and you got to refill it with something else. Something that's more fulfilling, something that's more sustainable, something that's going to further nurture your growth. You can't just leave it open. Check this out. If you stop smoking, you might start drinking. If you stop drinking, you might start eating junk food. If you stop eating junk food, you might start surfing up those naughty websites on the internet. You stop watching those naughty websites on the internet, you might now go onto Instagram and watch the Instagram model squatting. If you stop doing that, you might now move on to, I don't know, anything, just something. You're always going to try to refill it with something. So what you need to do is try your best to fill it with something that's better for you. You know, stop drinking and then start going to the gym. Stop smoking and then start going on some runs, going on some long walks in the park. Stop eating that fast food and start cooking meals. Make a nice meal at home. You got to fill that vacuum with something. You're going to fill that vacuum with something. You can't just leave it open. You've been filling it with something for all this time. So you're used to the idea of filling it with something. So you're going to have to. You can't just leave it open. The next thing that I want to discuss is embracing your shadow self. We all have a shadow self. I have a shadow self. You have a shadow self. We all do. You know what I mean? The same way that we all have a literal shadow whenever you're walking around. It's this cast of darkness that is behind the light. We all have that. We all have this little bit of darkness within us, and we need to embrace the fact that we have it. We need to accept the fact that we have it. Who we portray ourselves out to be in the world, in front of other people, at our jobs, in front of our family, in front of our friends, in front of strangers, in society, that is called a persona. That is who we portray ourselves to be. But behind closed doors, deep down in your soul, there is a version of yourself that is undesirable. There's a version of yourself that ain't that great. It's your shadow self. And your shadow self is developed through all the things you go through in life, all of your traumas, all the things that have happened to you, anything bad that's happened to you. You develop coping mechanisms based on what's happened to you. Look, maybe you were abused as a child. And if you were abused as a child, you start engaging in these addictive habits, these impulsive habits in order to try to numb the pain. Maybe, just maybe, you used to see your mom hit your dad or something like that, or your dad hit your mom. And in order to numb the pain, you were eating over and over again. You ate so much, you were binge eating because of the fact that you just needed something to numb the pain. The shadow self is really trying to protect you. It's really developing these coping mechanisms to deal with the stressors of life. But that doesn't mean that these coping mechanisms are healthy. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that what you are engaging in to try to alleviate suffering is something that's actually helping you in the long run. It just means that it's a temporary quick fix. What I'm trying to tell you to do is to accept the fact that you have this side of yourself. Accept the fact that you do have dark desires. Accept the fact that maybe sometimes you do want to do some sort of self-harm. You do want to be able to do something that's actually kind of bad. Accept that that's a part of you. I'm not saying that you need to always encourage it or that you need to always try to step within it. I'm saying that you need to accept that that's within you. It's a part of you. It's in there, right? It's in there. We all have a higher self and we all have a lower self, the same way we have a right foot and a left foot. We got both. It resides within us. But don't deny it. The more that you deny it, the more that you try to act as if it does not exist, the more it will persist in other areas of your life in some kind of way. It will subconsciously find its way to get out in another kind of way. Stuff happens, man. It's going to come out one way or another, so stop trying to deny it. Stop trying to hold it down and keep it down. The more you're trying to hide this thing, the bigger it becomes. So don't deny the fact that it's a part of you. Find a way to make it healthy. Find a way to integrate it within your life. But find a way to tame the beast. The beast is within you, but find a way to tame it. Don't try to kill the beast. You can't kill the beast. It's a part of you. But try to work with it. You never lose your dark desires. You just control them. You know what I'm saying? You never lose the desire to drink that drink. You just decide consciously, I'm not going to do that today. You never lose that desire to talk to that person. You just decide consciously, I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to text him. I'm not hitting him up no more. I'm not going to watch that naughty video today. The desire is still there. You know what I'm saying? The desire is still there. The craving is still there. But you just choose consciously, I'm not going to engage in this habit. I'm not going to do it. But that's why I want to talk to you about the idea of the back and forth. Sometimes we're going to falter. Sometimes we're going to take those 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We're going to end up engaging in a habit that we're not trying to do. We're going to end up doing it. We're going to fall short. Sometimes that is going to happen. That's natural human behavior. Stop trying to swim upstream against it and go with the flow with it. Whenever this is happening, don't deny it. You're just going to make it way worse. You're going to end up binging on something. You get what I'm saying? It's like sometimes that craving reward system is too strong. Sometimes that craving is too strong, and sometimes you're going to cave. That's going to happen. That is going to happen occasionally for some people. And the best thing that you can do if you do engage in it is just to not feel guilty about it, to not feel shame about it, to not sit there and wallow in it, to wallow in those feelings, to magnify the negativity within it, to sit there and beat yourself up. Sometimes I feel like you're better off just succumbing to it for that little moment. Because the more that you try to hide it, the more you try to hold it down, the stronger it gets. You're better off falling short for a quick second than falling short for a longer time. Now you want a long binge cycle because you've been restricting so long. You've been trying so hard to hold it down. All that does is keep you in a negative cycle. It keeps you in a negative vibration, a lower vibration. It keeps you in those lower vibe emotions. And the more you stay down there, the more you're going to engage in these lower vibrational activities. So you don't want to stay there. What you want to do is if something happens, you just need to accept it. Move on. Now, of course, I'm only speaking about this in regards to in the times that you actually falter, because we're trying our best to not falter, right? We're trying our best to not engage in these habits, but occasionally you will. Occasionally things are going to happen. We are human. You know what I'm saying? We're flawed. Accept it. Don't lie to yourself. Don't make yourself feel bad. Sometimes we're just not in alignment, and you need to be able to admit to yourself when you're not in alignment. Don't deny it. Accept it. Admit to the fact that, you know what? I actually want to smoke today. I actually want to drink today. I actually want to watch one of those videos today. I actually want to call this person today. I think that you're better off making the conscious decision to do a bad behavior, like I'm choosing to do a bad behavior on purpose, than for you to do it unconsciously. You're better off being like, you know what? I know for a fact I should not eat this cheeseburger, but today I am choosing to eat this cheeseburger. You're better off doing that than falling off the wagon, trying to withhold this craving so hard. You know, you're sitting there just agitated, about to burst at the seams, trying to make yourself not do this thing. Because when you do, you're going to binge, you're going to explode. Sometimes you're better off indulging for just that quick second. Look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be trying your best to try not to do these things. I'm just saying we're human. We're human. I've been through it. I've been through the back and forth. A lot of times it's a lot easier for you. It's a lot better for you to just admit to yourself, be honest with yourself, be brutally honest with yourself. I'm not ready to give this up. It sounds a little sad, right? It sounds a little sad, but look, you're better off being honest. You're better off being honest with yourself. I don't feel like giving this up. I don't want to give this up. I'm not in alignment right now. I admit that I'm not in alignment right now. The thing is, when you are really, truly ready to change, you will be thinking in terms of your identity. And when you are thinking in terms of your identity, certain activities, certain things that you will do will not be congruent with who you believe yourself to be now. That's when you know you've made true progress, true evolution. There will be times in which you're going to get ready to engage in a habit and you'll be like, nah, I don't do this anymore. This isn't me anymore. I don't feel like this is in alignment with who I am. It is not congruent with who I am. That's when you really know. And sometimes you're still going to fall short even when you do that. But the more that you become conscious, the more that you are like, yeah, you know what? I did it last week, even though I said I shouldn't, even though I didn't really want to, even though it wasn't that great for me. I did do it last week and I remember how it felt. So you know what? Today I'm not going to, because I don't feel like it's in alignment with me. Sometimes when you actually allow yourself to cave in for that quick moment and you do that thing, you end up really realizing just how much you're not really in alignment with it, how much it doesn't connect with you, how much you don't actually really want to do it. But sometimes it takes for you to actually engage in it real quick instead of trying to hold it down. Do not compare yourself based on this perfect metric of who a perfect person would be. Stop trying to be perfect. Nobody told you needed to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. I don't know who told you needed to be perfect, but you need to stop trying to be perfect. Stop comparing yourself to some perfect metric and stop comparing yourself to this version of yourself that you think that you can achieve. Compare yourself only to a lesser version of who you were. Compare yourself only to somebody that you're better than right now. You get what I'm saying? If you've made any sort of progress at all, the best thing that you could do is be like, you know what? I'm better than I was yesterday. I'm better than I was last week. I'm better than I was last month. It doesn't mean that you don't still have some room to grow. It doesn't mean that you don't still have some room to try to change and shift and evolve. It just means that you're better than you were before. It takes courage. It takes consciousness for you to be able to be like, you know what? I am doing better. I am making progress. I'm not perfect, but I am making progress. I'm doing a lot better than I was before. And all that does is keep you in a positive vibration. It keeps you in a positive end of the vibrational chart. You maintain that positive momentum, and it just encourages you to continue doing the right thing. Keep yourself in that groove. Stop focusing on the negative. Stop focusing on every time that you falter. Okay, you ate a burger today and you wasn't supposed to. Whatever, man. It happened. Don't sit in it. You fell short today, but that doesn't mean you got to fall short tomorrow. That means that tomorrow you still have the opportunity to eat right. That means the rest of the week you still have the opportunity to eat right. The problem is a lot of times whenever we falter, we just go, oh man, all the dominoes done fell. I guess I might as well just go backwards. I guess I might as well just eat a bunch of burgers today. And then you start binging. That's the wrong thing to do. If you falter, accept that you faltered in that moment and just be like, you know what, I'm about to focus on doing the right thing tomorrow. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Give yourself grace. Give yourself forgiveness. Make sure that you're allowing yourself to falter here and there because you're human. You're not going to be perfect. Whoever told you that you're supposed to be perfect, you're not going to be perfect. So when you do mess up, don't sit there beating yourself up. Just focus on doing the right thing now. Focus on forward. Focus on going forward. Focus on moving forward. The windshield is always bigger than the rear view. Focus on what's ahead of you. Stop looking backwards. Stop going backwards. It don't matter. It don't matter if you falter today. You always have the option to do better tomorrow. So just do better tomorrow. Your negative cycle ends today. Listen, man, all I'm really trying to tell you is if you really want to change, if you really want this negative cycle to end, the best thing that you could do is become aware of everything that's happening in your life. Become aware of your environment, become aware of your habits, become aware of your patterns, your rituals. Become aware. Because the more aware that you are, the more conscious you are about it, the more that you are going to be able to make actual decisions, right? Because the problem is a lot of times when we're engaging all this impulse, we're not making our own decisions. We're not in the driver's seat. You got to be more decisive. You got to be the one who is in control of yourself. And that even means you got to be in control of yourself when you falter, when you mess up. Because when you mess up, you're just going to have to forgive yourself. You got to give yourself some grace. You got to give yourself some humility because you're human. If you want to stop with your back and forth, if you want to stop this negative cycle, the first thing you got to do is become aware of it. Become aware of your habits, become aware of your patterns, become aware of your rituals, and then start attempting to change it. And a lot of that is going to have to do with changing your environment, changing the way that you do things, changing your routines, changing the people that you're going to be around, but also trying to develop this life, this reality that you don't want to escape from, that you want to actually be within, and putting in better habits, better rituals, better patterns. Don't leave that vacuum open. If you want to change, you can change. You can change whenever you feel like it. Your negative cycle ends today if you want it to end. And look, sometimes you're going to falter. Sometimes you're going to step backwards. But it's what you do in those moments. It's what you do with those moments that's going to affect how far you're going to get, how much you're going to progress. I get it. Evolution is scary. Evolution is scary. And sometimes we can self-sabotage. But look, we can always get back on track. You can always get back on track. I'm saying it one more time. You can always, 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 always get back on track. It ain't never too late. So fix your life. Your negative cycle ends today. But hey, that's all I really wanted to say to y'all today. I really hope that this message resonated with you. I hope that you have a good time. I hope that your new year is going well so far. I hope that all is well in your life. We're going to conquer these habits. We're going to conquer these patterns, these rituals. We're going to conquer it together. We're all in this together, baby. And I got to tell you, I appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart, because realistically, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. And I appreciate that. So much love. I hope to see you in the next one. All right, peace.